Hello everyone. If you want to go to my free course, type henry-ward.co.uk into Google, then go to Henry Ward Trading, and then this here is my free course. Click on Start Today. If you want to go on to the webinars that I do every Sunday and every Wednesday, click on Trading Academy and then click on Start Today. So this is the Trading Academy. This is the full training, the webinars, direct access to me, everything that you want. Kick off, and I'm gonna actually start off with the dollar index. So the dollar index is, for the people who don't know, it's the overall, what would I call it? It's like an indices. So it's a basket of all the dollar weighted currencies put together, and it gives you an indication of what dollar is doing against everything else. Okay, so that's probably the best way to describe the dollar index, or the Dixie as it's known. So what we have here is we have an overall trend going up, which is showing that dollar is getting stronger against every major currency. So what we've had over the last week or two, we've had a little bit of a change of sentiment. So we've had this come down here. We've then had that, and then we had a lower low here. So this would indicate that there is a little more pressure to the downside. Now, if we look at what's ever happened over the last 3 days, look, we've had 3 green bars, one after the other, which is telling us that there's still a little bit of momentum in the dollar at the moment. Now, if I look over here at what we've done, look, Aussie USD is a buy, USD CHF is a sell, NZD USD is a buy, USD CAD is a sell. So which tells us that every one of the indicators that we have on the dollar is telling us that dollar should be getting weaker, but dollar has turned around. So this means then that dollar for me is not something I am trading. Why? Because it's done exactly what the exact opposite to every indicator that I can see. Does that make sense? So this means then that I am not looking to trade this. Now there is a potential trade here. Can anyone tell me of a potential trade that's here at the moment? Have a look at what we have here and see if you're going to tell me what trade I'm looking at, what trade is possibly popping up here for you. Anyone else? Perfect. So most people are seeing a double top. Okay, so if I remove all those drawings, start again, there is a potential double top there. Now we won't know till today's bar is finished. Now, if that is a double top, we would then expect this to carry on going down here. But what may happen, and looks like what's going to happen, is potential break, then retest. So at this present moment, there's a setup there at the moment. We're potentially looking at a double top and seeing if it depends on today's bar or a break and retest. Now, if we're expecting this to drop, so we're expecting the market to go down, what sort of price action are we looking to have there? What sort of price action there tells us that this could happen? So we would want to see price action like this. Okay, So that there's a high test. So it actually comes down and finishes down here. Now, it doesn't matter whether that bar is green or red. It's just I just have red drawings, or this type of price action. Now, with where the bar started, so look, if we look at this bar, it started at the bottom. So this bar started at the very bottom. So there's where it started. We are never going to get this doji bar. This doji bar is never going to happen. Why? Because it's at the bottom. So we're never going to get that. So we have the likes of this. Now, there is another scenario that may happen here. Change that to green. We may get this. And the bar finishes as it is now. We then may get this. And that would be an inside bar. And the same scenario would, our stop loss would go above it and our entry would go below these. So we still be looking for a short at that particular point. Because the analysis is coming down, the only reason for me to doubt that this will go down is if today's bar or tomorrow's bar goes up and breaks it. So tomorrow's bar does this. If tomorrow's bar does this, then I'm out of this. I'm not looking to short the dollar index. But it's a good indication there for us to work out what's going on. So we have a potential trade there. We won't know till say 10 o'clock tonight. That's not a big bar, so I wouldn't be looking to jump down to the 4 hour. So I wouldn't be very aggressive and jump down to the 4 hour here on this one because the bar is quite small. We're halfway already in that bar. The UK market has already moved. The US one hasn't opened yet, but the biggest amount of money in foreign exchange runs through the UK. And if we look at, say, Euro USD, remember the dollar index is 60% weighted against Euro USD. Why? Because it's the second biggest currency. So if you look at Euro USD, it looks very similar. It looks very similar. Did anyone take Euro USD short off that inside bar there? If you did, you'd be 1.2% up now. If you took it. So well done if you did. So we're going to have a look at gold and silver. But what would we expect to happen on gold and silver if dollar's getting stronger? What would we expect gold and silver to be doing? What would we expect there? Absolutely, we'd expect the likes of gold and silver to be down. So let's have a quick look. Silver. No, silver has more or less stayed there at that sort of level. We talked about that level and it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's had 6 days moving sideways, hasn't moved anywhere, but it's sitting at that point. Gold is very, very similar. Again, that high test bar there, and it's sat since there. Did anyone take that short on that high test? Now, the question is do we think that the US dollar is going to continue getting stronger like this? Do we think it's going to continue moving in this favor? Or do we think this is a short-term dollar strength and then we're going to have weakness? So they're all questions you sort of need to answer before you take that short. If you think, look, Henry, the trend is down and I'm going with the trend, you take this short. Absolutely. If you're someone who thinks that, look, this is dollar has to get weaker, but you have to make sure you have actually analysis behind it. So let's pop over to the indices. So I love seeing this. This is music to my ears. So I'm going to remove this here, because every time this goes up, there's less and less likelihood of it coming back to here. So we have this momentum to the upside. It clearly looks like there's more buyers in the market than sellers here. So at the moment, people are still quite bullish on it. The earnings that are coming out at the moment are not massively positive, which is a little bit concerning that the market still is going up, but I'm not going to complain at the moment. So I want to pull back into, say, one of these areas. Now, this particular scenario, this is what we want to happen now. So we've changed our level. So we wanted to come back into this area there. I'm going to leave this back where it was there, so I'm going to straighten it up. But we don't want to come back that far anymore. We can get rid of this trend line because it doesn't work anymore. But I wanted to come back into this area and then have another momentum to the upside, another move to the upside. So we're amending, we're editing our trade. Now, it may not come the whole way back down to there. It may come to here. So look, we have a touch there, and a touch there. So it may come back down to here. So that'll be the thought process on the likes of the Nasdaq. The S&P, that now has to change. The S&P even looks more bullish than the likes of the Nasdaq, doesn't it? Even though the earnings are not massively good coming out, they're about slightly above average. But what we have here is we have a little bit of a pullback look needed on the likes of that. And if we look at the Dow is back into an area where that trend line works. The S&P and the Nasdaq have broken that. But we still want that to come back into a decent enough area. So I'd like it to hit there and then come back into that one. So that's what we're looking for. Now, just because we're looking for it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. So we have to be able to pivot. So do a little poll here. Do we think that when the phase 2 happens, it's going to come back into one of these levels? Or do we think the phase 2 is going to come back all the way down to here? So one of these levels here is A, and this one is B. Do we think A or B? Now, I mean, any of these levels here are A. It can be any of those are A. They're all A, and this one is B. And B could be lower, okay? B or lower or A? Which of these do we think? Anyone else? A or B? Back to your A levels, Mark, is it? Okay, so the majority of people imagine A. Well, A seems to be the higher probability, but B could happen. B could happen very easily. So don't be counting all your chickens before they've hatched, because B could happen very easily. But the probability is now is some of these levels on A. So just keep a little bit of vigilance about it. So the German DAX. So the Germans has popped up a little bit to the upside. It's sort of following what the likes of the US market is doing. Same with the French CAC. Anyone that took that short to be very close to getting stopped out, and then the UK 100. So the UK 100's come back to this trend line. I wouldn't be looking to short it off that trend line. So there's a consensus in the likes of Europe that whatever about the US is Europe is going to go into a recession. Now, the US may be able to withstand that, but Europe is almost guaranteed to go into a recession. Can anyone tell me why Europe is almost guaranteed to go into a recession? Is anyone able to give me a guess? Hazard a guess. Anyone able to tell me? Anyone? Hazard a guess? Yes, Mark. Absolutely. So the energy cost is affecting Europe massively. So just to give you a sort of a stat, if you take the 5-year average of natural gas, you take the 5-year average of natural gas, the energy prices on average now are 5 times higher than the average over 5 years. Now, that will have a knock-on effect in Europe. That will have a huge knock-on effect. Now, yes, you have an increase in the US, but not to the same extent. Not to the same extent. So if war continues, the probability of Europe going into a recession is much higher. And yes, that will have a knock-on effect across the rest of the world. Now, it actually could have if US don't go into a recession and Europe do, it may actually have a positive effect on the likes of the US stocks. And instead of investing in Europe, people will be investing in the US stock market. It may have a negative effect that no one has any more money to invest in Europe. So there are pros and cons to it. So over the next 6 months, or 8 months, we would expect some sort of recession or a pullback or a weakening in the European markets. Now, when or how or what we're going to see in the European markets is we don't know. We don't know. All we can do is trade what's in front of us. Now, again, we have a trend line along here, and it's now come back into this area. Is that a position where we'll be looking to short a market? Now, again, that's today's bar, so we can't take today's bar. We have to wait for that to finish. And if you got back down to level, that'll be 7-1. And we're a little bit shy of it, so 7-1 there. Is this a trade for me to short? No, it's not. But there's still a trade there. For me, there's a little more upside, I think. But some people will be looking at that to short it. It's just not a good enough level for me. Absolutely. It meets some rules. It meets the overall trend. It meets momentum. There is a trade there, but it's just not something for me. For me, we have cyclicity upside, we have more momentum to the upside, and the level is not strong enough for me. But again, there is a trend line there. The UK 100, for me, this is a no. If you were to take one of those, for me, the German DAX is probably a stronger level than the UK 100. China. So China looks like it's going to topple over again, and it's going to start off with this next leg of its sell-off. So the question is it going to come back down to here and bounce again, or is it going to break? Also, there's no indication that this is the ceiling. So we've no highs there. There's no levels. There's nothing there for us. Okay, so there's nothing there for us. Oil. If you took oil on the smaller time frame, like we talked about, off that there, well done, you had a 3-1. Would have been a very aggressive trade again. Oh, well done if you did. Wouldn't have been a trade that I would have taken, but again, look, it comes back to that trend line, comes back into that area, comes back to that zone, hits this sort of ceiling, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then drops. Well done if you've taken it. Good trade. But at the moment, we now have a double bottom. And look, we've had a rejection of this double bottom. How far does that go up? So we are going to get a breakout one side or another. So we have sort of this little bit of a triangle going on here. So we have a double bottom. We then have the downward pressure. And today we've had some upward moments, momentum buying. So we do have that double bottom. And it's one of these things that we need to work out what's going on there. Natural gas. So will natural gas break this level? 9.4 level. Will natural gas break that? This movement's up to the upside. Will natural gas break that? Or will it hit this level and come down? or will it go up? But we would expect some sort of a selling pressure at this point, wouldn't we? If I had 1, 2, 3 really clear bounces here. So we would expect some sort of a sell-off. The only question we have now is if people will put limit orders there. The question is will they put their stop loss then above that? So we expect that to happen, don't we? Next question is will this be pushed up like this? And then the next day, straight away, there's selling power. I'll actually undo that. So we have a buying day there. And then we have the next days like this. And then the day after is that. That'll be something to watch out for. Will we get that manipulation? We had it here, didn't we? We had that level there, look. Went up, made a higher high. This bar then went up, made a higher high, and a big sell-off. So depends on your strategy here. Depends on what you're looking at. Depends on what your goal in this one is. But if you're someone who uses limit orders, that there is an ideal position for a limit order. Now I would put my entry here, just on the open and close here, and my stop loss would go above that. And then we'll see very, very quickly whether we're going to get a little bit of manipulation or whether there's loads of orders sitting at that place and the market continues to drop. So there's definitely a potential setup there tomorrow or the next day, over the next week. If you're looking to trade the likes of natural gas short, that is something you definitely should be looking at. Wheat, again, hasn't really gone anywhere at all. So Disney had a pretty good earnings, but can anyone tell me why I have brought up Disney? Can anyone tell me? Okay, so one of the big reasons for a jump in the likes of Disney is there is potential a big investor who has bought up some of their stock. Also you have the earnings that have come out as well. So earnings were pretty good. So they're the sort of two folds that Disney has jumped and probably will jump over the next couple of days because of both. So I can't remember the name. There's a big investor after investing quite heavily into Disney over the last couple of days. So that also should add to it. But finally, we're starting to see a little bit of movement on the likes of Disney to the upside. Feels like we've been waiting forever for this to sort of happen. Okay, so that's a little bit of news coming out on the likes of Disney, which looks quite positive. So for the last 10 minutes, do you guys want me to look at anything in particular? Pop them into the chat there, and I will have a look at whatever you want. So while you guys are actually popping that in there, just wanted to let you know this is going to be the last live Tuesday webinar. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start pre-recording these and popping them in the trading chat, and also just stick them up on YouTube. So it just means it's easier. You guys also still have the same thing, and hopefully I can get them out for 1 o'clock and stuff as well. So try to keep them at the same time, so you guys can just log in and just watch them live, or watch them pre-recorded, but literally an hour beforehand. So has anyone got anything for me to look at? Anyone any questions on the market or anything that they are looking at? Okay, doesn't look like anyone is there. BTC. Let's have a look at BTC. Crypto. There's not a whole lot to look at with BTC, to be fair. It has literally moved slightly sideways. It's up to 24,000. It's in one of these channels. And you would expect a breakout. You would expect to break out one side or another. I'm assuming this is what you're talking about, Tyson. Yep. But again, you'd expect that to break out to the downside. So Albazaf are asking, why are you experiencing glitches on eToro? Clicking on the index or stocks, and it will bring you to the home page. Not that I know of, but I don't massively use eToro. I generally use all this trading view for my charting software, and then execution only for eToro. And I haven't come across it, but that doesn't mean it's not there either. It absolutely could be there. So we would expect this to pop down to the downside. Well, I use TradingView for all my analysis here, but I use eToro for my execution. So when I'm placing my trades, I use eToro. But I haven't come across that issue that you were having with eToro. But again, if anyone wants to could jump on the live webinars, there is a free month there for anyone. Just go to my website, click on it, and you jump in on 3 months. But as of now, this will be the last live webinar at Tuesday at 1 o'clock. I will be doing them pre-recorded and popping them up on YouTube and in the chat groups. So just make sure you guys are in the chat groups. If you're not, reach out to me and I will pop you in them. All right, everyone. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. Hope you have a lovely evening, and I will speak to you all tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye.